Hi, I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download the app, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining me on Candid Frank Live is the brains of the operation, Aaron William Freeland.
Hey, Frank, how's it going?
I'm trying to learn sarcasm.
Good luck with that. It's a difficult art to master.
You're the teacher. So I'll be learning from the master. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Aaron was making a joke about sarcasm, and I just thought I'd throw it in there. All right, let's talk first about the Hockey Canada women. Poulin, Nurse lead Canada to a 4-1 win, bud.
Yeah, this was a great start to the series for them, so I was glad to see that actually happen. Marie-Philippe Poulin, of course, playing the hero. Plus Debian actually stopped a penalty shot during the game, so that was awesome. She's actually the first Canadian goaltender to face and stop a penalty shot at the Women's World Hockey Championship, so pretty neat stuff.
Absolutely. Let's go to the Canadian Premier League. New commissioner Mark Noonan excited about Canadian Premier League's potential.
Yeah, it's finally good to see that they finally got a new commissioner. Unfortunately, didn't happen to catch the press conference at 5:00 today. I got an email for it at about 5:45. Sorry, so 45 minutes after the start. What are you gonna do? But yeah, no, and realistically here, I mean, one of the first things that he's going to have to deal with is the link between Canada Soccer and Canada Soccer Business, especially with regards to players in the Canadian Premier League and how it relates to the men's and women's national team. So that's an issue he's definitely going to have to look into. Yeah, I'm glad to see that they finally have one after over a year and a half without somebody officially at the helm.
It's probably because they can't communicate quite correctly. Well, that would be good. If they have a press conference, it would be good to have the reporters there before it starts and not after it's over. Okay, just a lesson to be learned, I guess. On Thursday, August 25th, 2022 at 1:41:53 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you sent me all this information.
Yep, that was the initial email. Everything else had followed afterwards, including Noonan as the new commissioner of the CPL came after that. So,
oh, okay. I thought there was some breaking news that you were going to share with me, a surprise bit of news. No, there's no surprise.
Not as far as I can see. No.
My goodness, I'm telling you, Donald Trump gets interesting more and more. CFL, Stampeders, Meyer gets nod ahead of veteran Bo Levi Mitchell for the Calgary Stampeders. Aaron, we could do about 15 minutes on this one. Oh, my goodness.
We definitely could, but Jake Meyer is going to be stepping in. This is a big one for him because he's going up against the 9-1 Blue Bombers here. Unfortunately, Bo Levi hasn't actually had the best of seasons. So I can see the reasoning for them doing that, but interesting start for him.
Could there be a hook in the future?
That all depends. I mean, if Meyer can perform at least as well as Bo Levi has been, then he should be able to stay in.
It's going to be interesting. It's been a great game to watch. Baptism under fire.
Definitely, and this is definitely throwing him into the deep end. So we'll see if he fails.
Absolutely, with a couple of lead weights on his feet, this is going to be a real test. I think the kid's up for it. It'll be very interesting. And as we all know in sports, it's these kind of underdog situations that sometimes afford a team the element of surprise, or as we like to call them, trap games.
Exactly.
This could be one. I guess we agree on that. Canadian Michael O'Connor will assume control of the BC Lions offense. No loss. They lost the Canadian, and they have another one, but back them up.
Yeah, after the news that Rourke was going down with foot surgery, which, is upsetting to say the least, the Lions are going to be looking for a 6th straight win to make themselves 9-1. O'Connor completed all 5 passes he attempted in the last game that he played for 36 yards. And Anthony Pipkin is going to be O'Connor's backup.
Yeah, well, he'll do the short yardage stuff. He did it last time. They dressed three quarterbacks. It's pretty unusual, but the BC Lions are an innovative team. The Ticats, Argos, Dane Evans to start for Hamilton on Friday. Were we not under the impression he would not be starting?
For some reason, I thought it was going to be Schultz, but
So did I.
yeah, but he's been named as the team's starting QB for Friday. So,
Mm-hmm.
he did miss the team's Week 10 game with a shoulder injury, and at the last injury report he'd been listed as doubtful. But you know, coming into Week 12 here, it looks like he's going to be their guy.
The Red Blacks also are trotting out somebody else. Arbuckle's coming out for them.
Yeah, this guy should be a familiar face. But yeah, they're
For a
going to
few
go with
teams.
Arbuckle against the Elks. So
Absolutely. Two players fined after week 11.
yeah, this should come as well. I was going to say this should come as no surprise to anyone, but guess who's been fined again?
Let me see. The Miami Dolphins quarterback.
Yes. Well, no, actually, it's his distant cousin Garrett.
Oh, right. It isn't the same Marino.
No, it's unfortunately
Oh, okay. Okay.
this happened. I don't know if individuals out there, if anybody
Yeah,
out there
I
saw the
saw it.
play, but
I saw it.
man, uh, apparently that was the signal for Marino to just go off and hit the center. After the opposing players jumped offside.
And the
So
whistle.
yeah, well, a lot of Saskatchewan fans are saying we never heard the whistle. They should play until they hear it. So this is, funnily enough, in his 13-game career so far, Garrett Marino has been suspended for 6 of them, and he's been ejected and fined. So I'm not sure if they're going to plan on keeping this guy, but he doesn't seem like he's that good for the team.
He's getting a lot of support from the fans. The fans believe that he's getting a bum deal. You and I have had this conversation about different sports. Hockey, in particular, is a perfect example. Where in hockey, and back in the day, of course, it's not as prevalent today, where Ty Domi would come out and the Leaf fans would either boo him or cheer him. Of course, when he was a Ranger, they'd boo him. When he was a Leaf player, they would cheer him. And that is the point that I'm making. So, Saskatchewan fans, it's all right. You're predictable. Of course, you're going to defend your player. Go ahead. But if you're not a Rider fan and you're a fan of the team that Marino is fouling, the cheers are replaced with boos, as they are with Ty Domi when he changes teams. That's just a natural order of things, Aaron. And I don't think I'm not making a big deal out of this. All I care about, and I think you do too. In fact, I know you do. This guy can't injure anybody else. If he does that,
No.
he's going to get suspended. And the
Again,
odds are good. Yeah, and the odds are good that if he does it, they're going to see something wrong with what he did. Either the way the riders see it, in other words, no matter what he does, he's going to get suspended, or the way other people see it, opposite of Saskatchewan Roughriders fans, who will think, well, this guy's a dirty player, and anything he does, if it turns out bad, it's, you know, that's why this guy's somebody's got to teach him to speak a little more, how shall I say, um, civically compassionate and understand, be a little more civil, I guess. I don't
well,
know.
I mean, after the comments that he made about Masoli's ancestry after injuring him with a deliberate low hit, you got to kind of wonder if A, this guy is all there, and B, if he's capable of learning. I mean, the
Well,
fact that he's only played 13 games and has been suspended for 6 games, says a
I,
great deal about this guy.
I'm a firm believer that misbehavior isn't is you don't necessarily tie misbehavior to intelligence. I think what you tie misbehavior for is accountability in the past not had, because people, we've learned in life, if you look around, folks, anybody who gets away with anything keeps doing it until they don't get away with it, and then they go away for a little uh sleepover, away from home, and then they come out and some of them just keep doing it. It's just a trait. It has nothing to do with intelligence. Some people just don't get it, and all the league can do is remove them from the league. If he's a guy who's habitual and doesn't learn, he won't be in the league very much longer.
No, he may have a very short career. I mean, realistically, idealistically, I'd like everybody to have long CFL careers. But if this sort of behavior and this sort of injurious pattern continues, it may not be possible for him to have a longer career.
And here comes the pinky, Aaron. Here comes the pinky. And let's hope the reason they get rid of him is because of something that he did and he deserves to be gotten rid of. I hope now his reputation hasn't tarnished his ability to play football in the Canadian Football League. I don't want to see that either. Okay, so 2 players fined after week 11. We talked about that. Hockey Canada source says he told police of 2 hockey players in 2003 video of alleged sexual assault.
Yeah. So as it turns out, they do actually have video now of the alleged incident after it occurred in 2003. The individual who has the video has now named the 2 players that were in there. Because the investigation is ongoing, Halifax police have not released the names of the individuals, but it is going to be folded into part of the investigation.
Absolutely. So, well, a team-by-team look at the Women's World Hockey Championship field.
So this is going to be fun. Coming up is the Women's World Hockey Championships that's starting in Denmark. We're going to just take a quick look, if you don't mind, Frank, at the 10 different teams that are participating. I mean, there's Canada. They're the reigning world and Olympic champions who are back on top after giving ground to the United States. The United States have had their 3rd head coaching change in less than 2 years. John Robalewski, who replaced Joel Johnson in June after Robalewski spent 2 years behind the bench of the Ontario Reign, who are the ECHL affiliate of the LA Kings. The Americans are minus forward Brianna Decker, who broke her leg and tore ligaments during the Olympics. Hillary Knight is poised now to surpass Canadian Haley Wickenheiser with 86 points all time. Finland has 19 returning players from the bronze medal team at the Beijing Olympics and last year's World Championships in Calgary. Pasi Mustonen, who coached the Finns to silver in 2019, had planned to pass the head coaching reins to Juuso Toivola for this season, but because of family illnesses, Mustonen ended up passing them on earlier. Jenny Hirlovsky's 14th career World Championships will be an IIHF record. She currently holds the record for most games played. It's 75. For Switzerland, Alina Muller, who was sidelined during last year's World Championship with an ankle injury, is going to be leading the Swiss team, coached by Toronto's Colin Muller. Switzerland's stated goal now is to win the bronze medal. That would match their best result from 2012. Japan, this is an interesting addition to Pool A. They managed to slip into the top 5 seeds because of Russia's ejection. 6th in both Beijing and Calgary. Japan is going to take its lumps against Canada and the U.S. Shiho Osawa has announced her retirement after almost a decade as captain of the Japanese team, and Haruka Toko is going to be leading them out onto the ice. Czechia is coached by 2-time Canadian Olympic gold medalist Carla McLeod. Their goaltending ace is Klara Peslarova. She was the top goaltender of the Olympics women's hockey tournament in February. Germany is coming into this tournament with their best result as being 4th in 2017, but they haven't really managed to make up much ground. They finished 8th in Calgary and didn't make it out of the qualifying round at the Olympic Games. Nina Kristoff had a strong World Championship debut in Calgary at 18 years of age with a pair of goals. Hungary is a relative newcomer. Montreal-born Pat Cortina is going to be coaching the Hungarians, and former Canadian team defender Delaney Collins is going to be his assistant coach. Denmark, there was no relegation in Calgary last year, which means Denmark could make a pitch to host the championship for the first time. They then won the qualifying tournament to make their Olympic debut and beat Czechia there 3-2 for their lone win in Beijing. Cassandra Repstock-Rami stopped 50 of the 54 shots he faced throughout the World Championships in Calgary last year. And finally, Sweden, based on its number 8 world ranking, the Swedes are going to replace Russia, who have been banned by the IAHF because of the country's invasion of Ukraine. The Swedes won an Olympic silver medal in 2006, but were relegated in the 2019 World Championship. The pandemic prevented them from playing their way back in via lower division championships, but because of Russia's ouster, they're now officially back in. And those are all the teams that we're looking at for the World Championships.
Thanks. I really needed some water, so I went and got water while we did that.
Hey, I figured I'd give you enough time.
Well, I did. I got me some water, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Okay, so that's uh, Basketball Canada will floor 5 NBA players in World Cup qualifier against Argentina.
This is actually really exciting for me, at least, just to see the number of NBA players that we are actually going to be bringing to the tournament. We're bringing Oklahoma City Thunder guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Detroit Pistons Corey Joseph and Kelly Olynyk, Utah Jazz guard Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Dallas Mavericks forward Dwight Powell. So this is really good news for Canada. It means we have a strong roster present at the FIBA World Cup. Game against Argentina is going to be interesting to see. Canada will be playing this weekend against Argentina, and then again on Monday in Panama. So we'll see how that goes, and keep an eye on that for you.
Let's talk about the WNBA playoffs this season. Number 3 Sun pull away from Wings.
So this is their fourth consecutive semifinal berth, which is fantastic. The 3 seed Connecticut Suns out of the 6 seed Dallas Wings, 73-58 in College Park Center in Arlington on Wednesday. The game was tied at halftime after Connecticut's DeWanna Bonner nailed a late three-pointer, and Dallas had a bucket waved off after video review. The good news is you'll be able to see this game on television, so it's going to be aired on CBS, the championship finals out of Washington, D.C. So that's great news for the sport.
Tennis star Novak Djokovic, I don't think he's joking. I think he's serious. Won't travel to compete in the U.S. Open. We're back to that thing where he isn't vaccinated.
Yeah, and again, if he gets his vaccine, then he'll be able to play. He decided he didn't want to receive it, therefore he's dealing with the consequences of his actions. And it's not like this is a unique situation. Any country that he wants to go to play has vaccine requirements.
So under the international standard, yep. It's different. It's different for U.S. based leagues. They treat it a little differently, Aaron. As we know, when it comes to the Blue Jays, right? Players can't come across the border. So the border is a defining line where countries stake their claim to decisions like that. And, you can't beat City Hall or Parliament.
Casper Ruud, and he's a Norwegian tennis star, recently said, I think it's sad that he can't play, but as a competitor, I'm not crying about it.
I like honesty. The Blue Jays, Springer gets 3 hits, RBA double in the 10th as Blue Jays top Red Sox in extra innings.
Yeah, so this was a game that was tied for the most part of it. But then, Springer got a 10th inning double on the first pitch from Boston's reliever Ryan Brazier that scored the automatic runner Jackie Bradley Jr. at second base and lifted the Toronto Blue Jays over the Red Sox 3-2. A lot of people aren't a fan of this whole starting a runner on second base during extra innings. Speaking personally, I like the idea. It forces the team to play defense. I think it's absolutely great.
It's the same thing in every sport. They just can't play 14 hours. They've got to end the game. Travel plans, games to be played in that, especially baseball. You've got a game tomorrow, right? You play 5 to 6 games a week.
And if somebody's injured, there's less time for them to rehab post-game. All of this stuff, players need to eat. Players need to sleep.
It is what it is.
17-inning games are great. Don't get me wrong. I love to see them every once in a while.
Who doesn't?
But man, just get it done.
Playoffs. I like to see him in the playoffs. You can still see him in the playoffs. They're not gone bye-bye. It's like in hockey. You get that 3-on-3, and they want it to end quicker. That's what they want. Now with the Jays, Ross Stripling, there's some noise going on that this guy could be looking for more money than the Jays can afford. Is it because the Jays don't want to pay like New York, LA, Boston, Dallas, Texas? What's up?
The problem that we've got here, and it's a terrible problem to have, is he's turned out to be a really good pitcher. And unfortunately, with having a really good pitcher like that, the extra price tag comes along with it. I mean, after Hyun-Jin Ryu went down with Tommy John surgery in early June, he was pulled out of the bullpen and asked to fill Ryu's spot as a starter. I mean, he had originally started in the six-man rotation in April, but was back in the bullpen by May, back into the starting rotation again by June. He's got a 2.14 ERA, a 2.55 FIP, a 216 OPP average, a 21.2% strikeout rate, and a 3.3% walkout rate through 63 innings in 12 starts. I mean, this guy has been absolutely on fire. And as a result of this, he's going to be able to command a lot more money come next year. So,
Well, if it means winning a World Series, they can put up with the fact to pay him or letting him go. It doesn't matter. What matters is winning a championship.
yep.
And the Jays are doing something about the Rogers Center. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Rogers Center. Some people are offended when it's called the Rogers Center. Some people prefer the Sky Dome. They're going to start 10 games into the season when they come home because they're going to be on a 10-game road trip. And Aaron, Rogers is going to be spending a little bit of that money they've made with the Jays, and they're going to modify the stadium and to bring it into the new millennium.
So this is going to be phase one of a $300 million overhaul to Rogers Center itself. Basically, what they're going to be doing is replacing all of the seats in the 500 level, including removing entire sections and replacing them with spaces for spectators to congregate. So we're talking, beer gardens and terraces up there.
Standing tables.
Yes, they're also going to be angling the seats, much as they did in the Montreal in the Olympic Stadium. They're going to be angling the seats to face towards home plate. Part of the issue with Rogers Center when it was originally built, and because it was originally intended as a multi-sport facility,
football stadium,
a lot of the seats face straight forward. So that means that you're sitting looking at home plate for most of the game, and that can put a crick in your neck. So the fact that they're taking the time to do this and finally update this, as well as provide more pedestrian-friendly and fan-friendly
it's
areas.
the atmosphere they're trying to create. The
Most
hangout
definitely.
atmosphere, right? That's the new age thing at all the stadiums, parks, and it's about relaxing. Just having a drink and walking around and chatting. And you're at the ball game. You're not just sitting down and watching. Some people enjoy that a lot more than sitting in a seat. They'd rather be walking around with their group of friends, and you change who you talk to. It's kind of more social, right?
And that's the thing. Baseball games are fine. I can sit there if I wanted to and watch an entire 3-hour game. But at a certain point, you do need to get up and stretch your legs. Plus, if you have other friends that come to the game, you're not necessarily sitting together. I have 4 or 5
Right.
groups of friends that all have season tickets. So the opportunity for us to meet somewhere and still watch the game and share an adult beverage is an opportunity that's greatly appreciated.
Here, I'll make a parallel. It's like tailgating in football,
Very much so.
right? You walk around and you have a drink here, and you talk to some friends over here, and then you go for a walk. Uh, it's a social event that way, and there are people who want that at the game. So that's one way to sell tickets that one group of people are looking for. So it's basically a sales pitch, and I think it's a good one. And I hope it'll be good if it's full, which it probably will, because the truth is it's less about the game. It's more about getting together. That doesn't mean it isn't about the game. It's just not as much about the game as it is the getting together. Let's go to the baseball game. And then you want to go with 5, 6 people. You know how easy it is to get a block of 5, 6 seats? Not easy. So,
No.
you as many people as want, you can have a group of, if you here's another reason, folks, and that's good that Rogers is doing this. The only way to go watch a baseball game with a group of 25 or 30 people, you got to buy a box. What? Do you know how much a box costs? So you can go as a group of 20 some odd people, and there's no seats, and if you don't like Jimmy over there, everybody just sort of kind of shuffles away from Jimmy, and Jimmy's over there by himself going, what did I do wrong? But you get to decide who you talk to, for how long, when, and exactly where. So relocation's easy. It's a great idea.
No, it's one of those things that I think makes baseball one of the best social sporting events to go to.
Yeah, and it it's tailgating in the stadium.
Yeah.
Mind you, the food's more expensive.
Well, here's the thing: you can bring your own food into Rogers Center, so that makes it
You
even better.
what now? What now?
Oh yeah, it's always been a policy. You can bring in your own food.
Wait, hang on a second. I'm going next week. I can bring my own food?
According to Rogers Center's official policies, you're allowed to bring food into the
Okay.
stadium.
I'm
You're
getting
allowed.
excited right now. I'm getting
You're.
excited right now.
I.
Not
I.
only am I saving
The
money,
missus and
I'm
I.
getting excited now. Go ahead, you and the missus.
The missus and I have brought in a full charcuterie board before. Cured meats, cheese, crackers, bread, butter. We've brought in soda. You can bring in non-alcoholic beverages as long as the container is under 600 milliliters in size. Um, I have come into the stadium before with 2 pounds of piping hot, still steaming wings from St. Louis Bar and Grill across the road, and not had a problem.
So, what are the odds of dragging a barbecue on a wagon behind you?
That's going a little bit too far. But you can bring in sandwiches. You can bring in bags of
No,
chips. You can
no
bring in
grilling.
chicken wings.
No grilling.
No, no grilling in stadium, unfortunately, not permitted. It's a fire hazard
It
sort of
was
thing, you know.
it was sounding good for a minute.
I know, I know.
Oh well, I have a sandwich maker.
Perfect.
Sandwich maker. Just
Well,
gotta
you
find.
can use it before you bring it in.
I gotta find a place to plug it in. Okay, so that's good. It's been you can tell it's been a while since I've been to a J game.
Indeed.
I didn't know you could bring food in there.
Oh yeah. No, not a lot of people know it. That's the funny part. It's why everybody stares at me like, "How did you get that in here?" I walked in with it.
Now, we went to Colonel's and we bought a 200-pound bag of popcorn. I can see that's coming with us.
I'd bring that in.
Caramel corn. Okay, let's talk a little more about sports, and we'll move over to hockey, and let's talk about the World Cup of Hockey. The NHL announces some plans.
So I don't know if everybody else remembers the World Cup of Hockey from 2016 featuring
Sure
Canada,
does.
America, Team Yum Guns, Team Some of Europe. It was actually
It was
decent.
how we were introduced to Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I was on Team Young Guns playing with what was it, Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid, which was that was something. They plan to have games in North America and Europe, and will be featuring at least 8 national teams. There are talks about including 2 additional countries to make it 10, but there's a 17-day window that they're currently looking at in February 2024 to hold the event. It's likely putting a pause on the NHL's regular season, but because it's endorsed by the NHL as opposed to being something like, oh, I don't know, say the Olympics, they're more likely to go along with it.
Well, when you're making it rain in your house, it's okay to make it rain.
Yeah.
The Golden Knights. Phil Kessel agrees to a 1-year, $1.5 million deal with the team from Vegas.
Yeah, so this was actually a little bit of a surprise for me, but Phil is now a Golden Knight. He last played for the Arizona Coyotes in 2019. Um, he's got 399 goals and 557 assists for 956 points in 1,200 career games between the Bruins, the Leafs, the Penguins, and the Coyotes. So we're hoping that he'll be able to get himself over the hump and maybe get himself, I don't know, 1,500 points, say, by the end of his career. Um, but yeah, I'd be really, really interested in seeing him play. Now,
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
I was going to say he only had 52 points last season,
Yeah.
8 goals and 44 assists. It's a function that comes with age. He is 34 now. He's no longer a spring chicken, but with the way that the culture is in Vegas, he's not looking to be there for a long time either. So because it's only a 1-year deal, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Give it a shot.
Well, it's one of those deals that we talk about, right? That teams and that we talk about the Leafs looking for. That those are the kind of contracts the Leafs are looking for. Yeah. On a sad note, Blue Jackets Alexander Tessier doesn't look like his season is going to start this year.
Now, he was the 45th overall pick in the 2017 draft, but he had some issues, and after consulting with the NHL and NHLPA substance abuse and behavioral health program team, it was determined that he was not officially ready to resume his career in the NHL this season. However, as part of the agreement between the team, the league, the union, and the player, he'll be allowed to ink a one-year deal in Europe for next season so he can be closer to his family. His contract and cap hit will be consistent with the treatment of a suspended player, meaning Columbus won't pay him, and his salary won't count against the team's salary cap while he's away.
Wow, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for him that he's going to be allowed to continue to play. But he was granted a leave of absence by the Blue Jackets in March after he was sidelined with a finger fracture he sustained in January. But during the past year, he said I'd experienced some personal issues and challenges, and I feel I need to be closer to my family at this time. I have love and respect for the city of Columbus and the Blue Jackets and the fans, as everyone has always treated me first class. I truly appreciate the support, health, and empathy I've received from team management and coaching staff, doctors, trainers, and my teammates. This was a hard decision, but it's the best one for me right now.
Yep. Well, there's you go. Let's go to golf, and the PGA Tour is making a radical change. Big names are going to play more games or more rounds for more money.
Yeah. So the PGA has been trying to get along with the LIV Tour, not very successfully. They've banished some players and restricted the play of others. So to combat that and to sort of take care of the criticism that Phil Mickelson leveled against them, they're trying to change it to try to draw back some of the other players. So they're saying, well, the tour is now going to feature 20 top players as defined by the tour's Player Impact Program. Basically, it's a popularity contest to determine who the biggest players are. And then based on who those biggest players are, they're going to get additional funds to play at more tournaments.
So there is a bit of an effect from LIV.
Yeah, there is a knock-on effect here to the fact that, LIV is going to be paying them more. So the thing is, the tour is now offering a guarantee of financial stability with a league minimum in the PGA Tour for the first time of $500,000 per player. Now, in order to get that $500,000, you have to compete in 15 events, and any winnings from those events will be deducted from the $500,000 that you receive at the beginning of the season. So players who are ranked below 125th get $5,000 for every cut that they miss.
Okay, let's go to entertainment and entertainment news, or I don't know, what do you call Fox News? A former editor claims viewers have been deceived and coddled over the years. So, really? Holy mackerel! Now that's a whistleblower. Boy, oh boy.
Well, this was former Fox News politics editor Chris Stirewalt. He went on CNN Tonight on Wednesday and spoke about being let go from Fox in January following outrage from viewers about the network's decision desk to call the state of Arizona for Biden in the 2020 election. Yeah, he took a little bit of heat for that. According to Stirewalt, he said, I observed in these viewers and these folks that they've been so deceived and so flattered and so coddled that when the ice cream dish was taken away and me and Mr. Green Beans is put in front of you, well, too bad Donald Trump is not going to get reelected. They lost their minds. They weren't ready to hear it.
They still aren't ready to hear it.
No, and it's refreshing to hear Stirewalt say that as American journalists, they have an obligation. If we love our country and we love our fellow countrymen and countrywomen, what we have to do is make sure that the work that we're doing is in service of and not destructive to those ambitions.
I like how Fox, I watch just for the sake of, sometimes they say something I feel I needed to know. And a lot of times they say things I knew I was going to hear. And the thing about Fox right now is what they're doing is, if you watch it at all, everything that Biden does, get ready for it, is a crime. He's a criminal. They frame him as a criminal. I'm just trying to put two things together there and trying to figure out why they would do that. Why would they refer to the president as a criminal? Why are they trying to frame him as a criminal? I just
So
don't
it's
know.
it's it's deflection to make their guy look not as bad.
Deflection and projection.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's amazing, it's like somebody saying, right? It's like somebody saying, that guy over there, did you see what he did? He took a grape at the grocery store. He's as bad as that bank robber with a gun at the at the bank. They're comparing the two.
Did you hear about Biden's latest crime?
Go ahead, I know it, but go ahead. You're going
He's
to talk about loans.
Yeah, he's forgiving up to $20,000 of student loans.
What a crime. He's a criminal. He's not allowed to do that. And that damn Nancy, what's her name, went and said he couldn't do it. So now we know it's a crime.
And here's the thing: anybody who earns below $125,000 a year, or under $250,000 if you're married, can be forgiven for up to $20,000 in federal student loan forgiveness. Now, this has, of course, brought a whole bunch of individuals out of the woodwork.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Oh,
It's
it's
$1
yeah.
million.
But here's the thing: it's bringing a lot of people out of the woodwork who said, "Well, I did it my own way and the hard way. I got my education through serving in the military and with the GI Bill. The
Or my
government didn't give me anything." And it's like,
But they're right, Aaron. They're right. But what I was going to say is, he's giving away 300. I think they said it's about, Aaron. And people, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's around $300 million. That's what this is going to cost. This is going to cost $300 million, and it's about. I think they said something like 10, 15, 20 million people, I think, are going to benefit from this, and that's why it's something like that. I think it's about 20. I think they said 20 million people. And yet about 200 people shared 1.5 million in tax breaks from the conservative Republican Party. I like to call them, there's the Republican Party, and I've created a name for the Trump Party, the Gremlican Party, because they're like gremlins. They just are destroying everything. If they can't have it, they're going to destroy it. And it's just, yeah, so I call them the Gremlican Party.
this is one of those things where it's like, I get it that you suffered by having to pay back your student loans. Do you really think everybody else should suffer just because you had to? Come on now.
Aaron, do not be surprised. And I'm telling you this in advance. If the Democrats don't take the next step, because the natural next step, in my opinion, Aaron, and we can argue about this till the cows come home, I realize. But the next logical step to me is, if those people were burdened with a loan they shouldn't be burdened with, right? If we agree on that, because you do agree on that. Sorry, I don't mean to point. I think you do agree on that. If you agree on this policy that is being written up by the Biden administration, then you believe students are getting in the hole and it's not fair, right? Isn't that basically what we're saying?
Mainly because the student loan interest rates are absolutely usurious. But yes,
Right?
yeah.
So I'm going to take it a step further and say, maybe the education system needs to not have a nest egg of billions of dollars that they have in the bank. In other words, they're making excessive profits, right? Maybe the education system should step back on how much it costs to teach people. I know I know people don't want to hear this, but there are actually people who don't want everybody to get a decent education, because there are some people who believe it's better to have people uneducated. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe because they'll believe stupid stuff, you know?
It's easier to convince a low information and low intelligence voter to do what you want than it is to convince somebody who's intelligent to do something against their best interests.
And may I specify and ensure that we understand this? Not low intelligence because they lack the ability to be intelligent. It's that they don't get the chance to be informed and educated. And that puts them in a disadvantage in many ways. So, not everybody's good with making education. Like, I understand why some people say make education free, because they're of the belief that if everybody's smarter, the country benefits more. But then what happens is you're doing something that some people don't want, and that is leveling the playing field.
Right. And
You
nobody wants a level
you
playing
can't
field.
have that. You can't have that. Don't take away all our advantages. Anyway, I'm being a real old liberal there. That's my old liberal sneaking out. Sorry, guys, didn't mean that. I just lost it there for a second. Let's talk about Rogers to spend 261 million to split networks, but can't quantify economic impact of outage.
Yeah, so this is in response to the major outage that people suffered in July. What they're looking to do now is to physically split wireless and wireline networks. Um, this was at the request by the CRTC to provide additional information pertaining to the outage, which affected millions of Canadians. The length of time it's going to take to separate the networks, unfortunately, was redacted in the report, so we couldn't see that. But they don't have the necessary data currently to determine the exact economic losses caused by the outage. But I would think that an easy way to look at this would be to take the number of business customers that you've got and um, maybe figure out how much they're paying per day and how much businesses they would have lost
Well,
based on.
everything stopped.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't go to Tim Hortons to get a coffee if you didn't have cash.
Now
That's
they are actually committed to spending $10 billion over the next 3 years to increase oversight, testing, and the use of AI to ensure reliable services, and are going to spend over $150 million on customer credits. So there is that.
I have a question that I didn't
Sure.
hear you clarify. Can you clarify when they talk about splitting, they're talking in Roger's case, home phone, cell phone, right? Is that
Yes.
what we're talking about? Okay. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
Wireless versus wireline. So voice over IP for home phones as opposed to the actual wireless networks.
You use all that geeky talk. I just know that the phone at home and the thing is, the reason it's going to cost them money to do that because they're both based on the same thing. They're based on the internet.
Yep.
Right? So what has to happen is this is why it's going to cost so much money, because they got to reactivate those lines that came in your house, phone lines like we're used to with Bell and such. Now, I wasn't prepared for this story, so this is all assumptions on my part. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but I think that's what the issue is they've got to hardwire the phones, which is a technical term, which I think a lot of people understand. So now it's not an over the air connection, it's an actual physical connection, which allows the phone to continually work because it works on low voltage and it doesn't work on a lot of power. So
Exactly, and that was the issue, was that Rogers was actually trying to, Rogers was actually trying to go cheaper by not maintaining wire lines.
absolutely. Absolutely. And just
So
adding a home phone, which is basically just like a piggyback on your cell phone. It's not really, it's not really anything different. And the reason they were doing that, Aaron, is because the government demanded that they have home phone lines. Remember? Because
yep,
the government's the one that said no, people got to be able to just have a home line. The idea was, like the old days, it cost $10, $12 a month for a home line. Well, it doesn't cost $10, $12 for a home phone. It's up there around like a cell phone. So it's just ridiculous. The government has to act quickly, and these are, you can't ignore the problem, right? I mean, there are a lot of businesses and a lot of companies suffered heavily. You know, you were talking about businesses. How about people? They couldn't call anybody. Look at
no,
it, and that we're talking. what did they say? It was like about 30% of the population. Was it something like that? I don't think it was quite like 50 or 60. I think it was because it wasn't a complete shutdown across the whole Rogers network, right? Even though they're a big player, right? But that amount of outage was a true economic problem, which affected a lot of people personally and a lot of businesses. So, a lot of people got on the telephone and said, "What are you going to do about this, Mr. Politician?" And Mr. Politician said, "Uh-oh, we got to look like we're doing we got to do something."
Wait, you people care about this crap? Oh, I guess I should care about it too.
And essentially that's what ends up happening. And so now there has to be some sort of action. It's similar, and and I know people are tired of hearing about the pandemic and stuff, but it's similar to the fact that it's been 100 years since there was a pandemic, and we got a little cocky. We thought we got all this right. Trump came in and kicked out everybody that was with a pandemic response, as everybody knows, as we found out. I blame Trump a lot of things, but that's just a typical politician coming in. Well, shoot, nothing's happened in 98 years. What the hell's going to happen in the next 4? So essentially, we don't we don't know what's going to go wrong until it does, and some stuff goes wrong bad, really bad. And that phone outage was terrible. I think we got I don't know. I think we got about $60 back, something like that. I don't know what you got, but anyway,
I didn't get anything back because I was with Freedom, and
Oh, okay.
Freedom actually piggybacks off both Rogers and Bell.
Yeah. Oh, both.
Yeah.
Oh, 'cause the one we have is Fido, and that's like that's just Rogers Light.
Yeah, and because Rogers hasn't bought Shaw yet, and probably won't at this point because of the issues that arose after this outage concerning that, I may still yet be safe. But Comwave, my internet service, was definitely out, mainly because they piggyback off Rogers lines.
Yes.
And Freedom, which is my mobile network, still had service, but because everybody and their brother was all of a sudden using Freedom's infrastructure after Rogers went down, everything was incredibly slow.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We do the best we can, and we all know that bigger isn't better in some cases.
No.
In a lot of cases, it isn't better. Independent companies, look, it is what it is. I think we've wasted enough time on that subject. Atchison condemns Louis Neuenberg email as dog whistle to COVID vaccine critics.
So Dr. Leslie Lewis sent out a fundraising email comparing basically the requirement for ArriveCan and vaccines to violation of the Nuremberg trials declaration that all humans were capable of their own bodily autonomy. And one of the other people in the leadership race said, "Yeah, that's kind of a bit of a dog whistle. You shouldn't have ought have said that."
Well, is there room for measured conversation? Because see, that's the part that's most irritating politically today, is that it's not measured. It's unbelievable, and to take real tragedies and use those trigger words of those tragedies to identify that my food's late. I don't know. It's just too much. It's just too much.
It's beyond pale.
A group files constitutional challenge of ArriveCan app in federal court.
So this is a constitutional rights group. The action was filed in federal court by the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, who filed it on behalf of 11 Canadians who were allegedly fined. Some of them were fined up to $8,500 for not completing the ArriveCan app. They're trying to say that the federal health minister has failed or refused to provide evidence that ArriveCan's data collection is legal or secure. It also claims that ArriveCan has proven to be unreliable and prone to errors that have infringed on the charter rights of Canadians.
Well,
I don't see it. I mean, hey, it's their right to file that if they want. Whether or not it comes to fruition is another story entirely.
I haven't used it. I've had some friends who've used it, and this is the way they describe it. Fill it out right before you do anything, then travel. don't do nothing and then travel and wonder why it doesn't work.
I mean, honestly, I filled out everything on it on the Wi-Fi at the hotel in Rochester. I didn't have to worry about it because it's connected to my passport. So when they scan my passport at the border, they can see I filled out the ArriveCan app already, and poof, you just breeze right through.
So it's like that's what I've been told. See, I don't know. I just got informed. I asked the question, and that's what I was told by a couple of people.
Yep.
Cycling deaths investigated by OPP up 300% since this time last year, Aaron.
Yeah, they've seen a 300% increase in deaths so far compared to this time in 2021. The issue that we're having here is Vision Zero doesn't seem to be working. There are more cyclists being run down now than ever before.
What's Vision Zero? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Vision Zero was a pilot program initiated in the city of Toronto that was trying to raise awareness about pedestrians and cyclists.
Right.
However, in a lot of cases, the drivers who kill people are never charged, even if they're at fault. If a driver doesn't look before turning right and runs over a cyclist, oh well, it was an unfortunate accident. There's no teeth to it. There's no enforcement.
That's something we shouldn't be bragging about here, Aaron.
No, it's not something I'm proud of at all.
I don't want to hear that. That's so the assumption is innocence.
Yep, innocence on the part of the drivers. The cyclist must have done something wrong.
So this is real no fault. Like we're talking no fault here.
Yeah, and it's not palatable and it's not acceptable.
Yikes. Okay, Nova Scotia Premier says fear-mongering misplaced over privatization of healthcare.
And this is right after he said that having private health options would actually be better for Nova Scotia. But don't worry, folks, we're not actually privatizing your healthcare. We just want more of it.
Nova Scotia Justice Minister dismisses RCMP assertion of chronic underfunding.
So, and again, because the RCMP are the constabulary for Nova Scotia, senior Mounties are saying that the RCMP is chronically underfunded in Nova Scotia, and Nova Scotia's Justice Minister is basically saying, no, you're not. We give you enough money. Deal with it.
So use it appropriately, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, federal minister denies water testing allegations made by Sask government.
So this is the Saskatchewan's allegation that federal scientists are purposely trespassing on private farmland, testing water samples for nitrates or nutrients related to farm runoff in connection with big agriculture and enforcement of rules and regulations that, help them.
That's pretty dangerous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, Aaron, we're out of time, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate it, Frank. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live. Aaron Live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. We're doing this one on Thursday because Aaron and I are going to the football game. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody.